All right, what's up, guys? Jackson Ape here today, and today we are going to talk about the importance of dietary fats. Fat gets a lot of bad rep because a lot of people are told that when consumed in excess is going to be stored as fat. So therefore, a lot of people think that if they consume any amounts of fat in general, that's just automatically going to be just stored as body fat in our bodies. And while the former is true, the latter is not. Fats are extremely important. To be regularly consuming in our diet. But we need to understand that there's good kinds of dietary fats and then there's processed fats. And the processed fats are what are going to cause a lot of us problems and what we need to try to stay away from to the best of our abilities. So fat is extremely important for a multitude of reasons. As you can see, it is a good source of energy, especially if people aren't consuming a ton of carbohydrates. Fats can kind of fill the energy source gap that our bodies typically rely on carbohydrates to produce. Some people don't respond well to high amounts of carbohydrates. A lot of people prefer a high protein, high fat diet opposed to a high protein, high carbohydrate diet via their energy output. So fats can be a tremendous energy source for us, especially if you are not consuming large amounts of carbohydrates. Now, there is the kicker. If you are consuming a high protein, high carbohydrate, high fat diet, typically the fat is going to be stored as excess body fat, to be able to use as energy down the line if carbohydrates really aren't present. Now, our hearts really use a lot of fats for its energy production throughout the day. As you see, our brain is roughly made up of 60% fat. So fat plays other additional roles in our body, for energy, whether we are, primarily consuming it for that purpose, or if it's just a byproduct of consuming it alongside our carbohydrates as well. But it also plays a large role in the creation of hormones, hormonal health for both male and females. So without fats present, the hormones are gonna, bounce all over the place. It's not going to be an ideal internal state for us, and we're going to definitely reap I wouldn't really say the rewards, but we're gonna reap the rewards of the effects of not consuming enough fats to maintain hormonal health. So fats are extremely important, obviously, as you can see, for these reasons right here. Plays many other roles in the body as well, but these I think are worth highlighting enough to be to make people think, okay, in some capacity, I do need to be consuming some sort of fat every single day because it plays, these roles in my body, which are very important just for overall, health and well-being. So my preferred fat sources, if I'm going to recommend any kinds of fats to anyone, this is going to be my list. Whole eggs. I've seen a lot of people, in recent months start to give eggs a bad rep because they're a 1-to-1 ratio of protein to fat. You're gonna get, if you have one egg, you're gonna get about 6 grams of protein, but you're also gonna get 6 grams of fat. So a lot of people have been saying, it's not really a good protein source, it's really just a fat source, which I think is fucking stupid because eggs alongside beef are the two best foods that you can consume. They contain a plethora of micronutrients. They contain protein, which is essential for maintaining and building muscle in our bodies. But it's really that micronutrient factor that comes with a bunch of the fat that's in the egg yolk. You see a lot of people eat the egg whites because that's where a lot of the protein is. But the micronutrients are going to be in that egg yolk, and that's what a lot of people just tend to skip over. But that's also where the fat is. You need it. You need to eat eggs because of what they can provide us. Eggs are one of the most bountifully gifted foods on this earth, and if you're not consuming it, you're doing yourself a disservice. The other things like avocado oil, non-processed butter, nuts, things like almonds, walnuts, cashews, pistachios. I'm really a big fan of almond butter opposed to like peanut butter. You can use olive oil, certain dairy products. Obviously, some are going to be loaded with fats compared to the amount of protein that's in them. Some are going to be ultra highly processed. So really sticking with the ones that are not highly processed and don't contain, highly, varying ratio of fats to proteins. But there are really good dairy products out there. And then as well as beans, legumes, lentils, things of that nature. These also have really good sources of fiber in them. So I don't typically eat a ton of beans in my diet just because I get a lot of my fat from my red meat and my eggs. But beans are a really good option, for those that may not consume a ton of fattier meat or a ton of eggs. You know, I just happen to eat a lot of both every single day, so that covers kind of my base for fat as that goes. But these are my preferred fat sources. You know, this is typically where I tell people like, hey, it's going to be the best bang for your buck. And this is going to give you some really healthy dietary fats that are also going to contain a plethora of other micronutrients and benefits in them as well. So I think fat is a very, I don't want to say overlooked, because like I said, there's a lot of people out there that like the high protein, high fat diets, but from what I have seen recently, a lot of people are starting to, just the trends in the fitness industry, right? A lot of people are starting to bag on fat, saying, you know, we just want to keep our fats as low as possible. And while that is true, you know, for a lot of performance athletes, I think that too low mark is getting a little bit too low. And I think people could benefit from having just a little bit more fats in their diets, you know, regardless of body weight. I really do think that not going any lower than 35 grams of fat per day. I really think for most people between 50 and 80 grams of fat is going to be that sweet spot. Some people would say that's way too much. Some people would say that's definitely not enough. I follow guys that consume well over 100 grams of fat a day, and their body compositions are through the roof. You know, they're amazing athletes. They're in really good shape. You know, the body composition is what a lot of people would, you know, are working towards and would hope to attain someday. So don't get discouraged. Don't think fats are going to do you a disservice. Don't think they're going to just make you bulging fat and just, you know, it's just going to get stored as body fat. That's not even remotely true. I'll throw up some pictures of the guys that I'm specifically talking about that consume higher fat diets and preach the importance of, you know, consuming dietary fats regularly in their diets, so that you guys can see fat is extremely important for, you know, the plethora of health benefits that it offers, but it is also going to play a large role in your body composition and your performance as well. So I hope that you guys learned a little bit about fat in this video. I hope it kind of undemonized it for some of you out there, you know, that may think that fat's the enemy or fat's the devil. Fats are good. Fats provide us with a lot of benefits. They're very important to us, and they need to be a regular part of your diet.